Okay, so in this lesson we're gonna learn about different countries, and we are going to do a research, and we're gonna find information about um, multiple different countries, and we're gonna use the information that we gather to do some math. So what I'm doing here is I have a list of countries. Okay, actually I assigned my class last year to research about some countries. I told them to choose countries, they chose those, and then we researched about them. Okay, so we have 17 countries, and what we found out was the population, the area, the life expectancy, the unemployment rate, the annual inflation, the administrative division, and then the temperature. So the temperature in the capital city at that moment. So what they found was this. They okay. That's the population for each one of those countries, and that's in millions. So, for example, South Korea has 51 million people. Nigeria has 186 million people. Okay, and so on. Well, as you can see, China has 1.3 billion people there. The United States, back in 2018, because this lesson is from last year, this information is from last year, had 325 million people. Okay. All right. The other thing they found out was the area. So that is the area in thousands of square miles. So, for example, South Korea has 38,000 square miles. Nigeria has 356,000 square miles. Okay, and so on. Then those are actually gonna be just like a reference. Okay, what we're gonna use for our lesson is from here: life expectancy, unemployment rate, annual inflation, administrative division, and then the temperature. And of course, the kind of math we're gonna do is related to statistics. So it's gonna be mean, median, and mode, and we're gonna add the range too. So the life expectancy for each one of those countries, as my students researched last year, is this. Okay, so basically, first of all, what life expectancy means is how many years people are expected to live in that country. So, for example, South Korea has a life expectancy of 82, which means people there live on average 82 years. But Nigeria, for example, has a life expectancy of 53 years. So people there, we could conclude that people there die way younger. Okay, and of course it also tells you about like the health system in that country, uh, and many other factors, but especially the health system. Okay, so those are the life expectancies for those countries. Notice how, for example, um, Uganda is 59 years. Okay, that's pretty low if you compare to the other countries. Then students researched about the unemployment rate. Okay, the unemployment rate is actually a percentage. So what it tells us is how out of 100, how many people don't have a job, and those are adults. Okay, children are not considered in this statistic. So, for example, in South Korea, the unemployment rate is 4%. But for example, in North Korea, it is 26%. So that means that out of 100 people, out of 100 adults, people who can work, okay, um, 26 are unemployed. And the number here that we could say, like the border, is like 10. 10 or more is usually bad. Less than 10 is decent. And of course, the lower it gets, the better. For example, Thailand has an unemployment rate of 1%. And then we have, for example, Niger has an unemployment rate of 2%. That is pretty good. Okay, then we have the annual inflation. The inflation is uh, the rate at which prices go up every year. So the lower it is, the better, of course, because that means that the prices go up slower. Uh, if it is a higher inflation, then prices are going up really fast. So we have, for example, France prices stay basically the same on average. But for example, Venezuela is just crazy. Okay, 4,000%. That means this is crazy. That means that something that costs $100, for example, let's say, uh, is gonna cost $4 million next year. So that's too much. Um, we have here we have Marshall Islands has an inflation of -2. What that means uh, is that the prices are actually going down, and we're gonna talk a little bit more about this. Then we have the administrative division. Administrative division is basically how many states there are in that country, okay? And then the temperature in the capital city at that moment, that day. And remember, my students researched all this last year, so this is information from last year, okay? All of this. So the temperature here uh, in the capital city of South Korea, for example, was 62, but in the capital city of Nigeria was 93. And then we have Italy, 66. Then we have North Korea, was 53 at that time. Okay, um, but look, for example, look at this is Niger. Niger was 103. It's pretty hot. And and we have one that's pretty cool actually. That's Canada. Canada. The temperature in Canada was 32 degrees. It was freezing that day. Okay, so now that we know all of this information from those countries, what we're gonna do next is do some math with it. Okay, and as I said, this is just gonna be a reference, area and population, and we're gonna do our math with this other set of data. Okay, so the life expectancy goes first. Now what we're doing here is we're gonna find the mode, the median, and the mean. And I said it backwards. It is the mean first, then the median, and then the mode. Okay. So first we have to know what it is. So the mean okay, the mean what it is the average. Okay, it's basically the average of this set of numbers. And notice how I put numbers here, so that way we know how many countries we're talking about. In this case, it is 17. So we're gonna use that number, okay? So we're gonna write this down. Life expectancy, we're gonna find the mean, and the key word to remember here is average. Average, okay? So because we're using technology, I'm gonna use technology, okay? So here we have mean. We're gonna add all of this. We're gonna add all of this. Sum of all of this. Once you add them, okay, you get 1234, 1,234. And then we're gonna divide it by the amount of countries that we have, which is 17. Okay, 17. So the mean is gonna be this number is going to be this number divided by 17. Oh. Okay, there you go. And let's use less decimal. So what we have here is that on average, people in those countries live 72.59 years. Okay? Now, that doesn't mean that if you live in any of those countries, you're going to live those years. That's an average. Okay? That is what the mean talks about, the average. Now, you could be more fortunate if you live in a country like New Zealand, for example, where the life expectancy is 82, but you could consider yourself less fortunate if you live in a country that has a lower life expectancy, like Venezuela, for example, is just 74. Okay, okay, or Marshall Islands. Okay, so that is what life expectancy means, and we're going to do the same thing for the other countries. Okay, for the other set of data, which right here we have unemployment rate. Okay, so we're going to find the mean for the unemployment rate, and then the annual inflation, administrative division, and temperature. Once we do that, we're going to check it. Okay, and then we're going to move on to the next one, which is median. Okay, the next measure of center we're talking about today is median. The first one is mean, it is the average, then the median, and then the mode. So how do we find the median in a set of data? The median, what we have to do is we have to put this in order. Okay, so put them in order from least to greatest, and because we're using technology, we're going to use the tools that we have here. Okay, so I'm just going to copy here, paste there, and go ahead and arrange it from least to greatest. Okay, there it is. There we have it. From least to greatest. Okay, this is this same set of data. Okay, but from least to greatest. And then we have to find the value that is in the middle. So the median is basically the value in the middle. So we're going to write it down. The value in the middle. Okay. And to do that, there's a good technique that I like to use, and it is we basically mark out. I'm gonna bold the first and the last, and then we work towards the middle, just like this. This way, we're gonna find what value is in the middle. Okay. Okay, so we're getting there. And as you can see, the value in the middle is 74. Okay, so what that means is that half of the countries are below 74 and half of the countries are above 74. Okay, so when you are talking about which half you would like to be in, you would probably rather live in a country in this half of the data. Okay, rather than in this half of the data, because people here live less years. So once again, the median is the value in the middle. Okay, in this case 74. If you live in a country which life expectancy is more than 74, then you're going to live more than half of the population, more than 50% of the population. Whereas if you live in a country where the life expectancy is less, it is 74 or less, you're expected to live less than half of the population. All right, so now we're gonna move on to the other measure of center. Okay, the first one was mean, the second one was median, the third measure of center is mode. Mode. And what mode is, okay, so we have life expectancy, we have the mean, the median, which is 74, and then the mode, and we're going to do the range too. So, median, mode. Okay. So first we gotta know what mode is, and mode is just the value that repeats the most. Okay, and we're gonna write it down. So the value that repeats the most. Value that repeats the most. Okay. All right. And to do this, I actually like to check this one here. Okay. When you have them in order, it is easier to see which value repeats the most. So 53 doesn't repeat at all. 59 doesn't repeat at all. We have 74 is 3 times here. And we have 82, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times in this set of data, okay? Because 82 is the value that repeats the most, it is the mode, okay? So here, we go back here, and the mode would be 82, okay? And we have to, okay, 82. And last but not least, we have the range. And what the range is, the range is actually not a measure of center. It's not a measure of center, but it gives you some information about the data you are working with. So what it is where from and where to your data goes. Okay. So in this case, the data goes from 53 to 82. That means that if you live in any of those countries we started with, okay, in any of those countries, then you are expected to live from 53 years to 82 years. Could you live less? Of course. Could you live more? Of course. But you are expected to live from 53 years to 82 years, okay? And so we have to stay what range is, and what it is the greatest value, greatest minus least, okay? Greatest minus least. Okay, so the data goes from this number to this number. Again, in this case, from 53 to 82 years. And then we would write it down here, okay? Write it down here. The range, we didn't actually subtract it, so we need to subtract. We said 82 minus 53. It was 53, right? Yes. So that's 29. 29. Okay. So the range is 29, okay? So once you hit 53, you will probably live for 29 more years. From 53 years old, you will have at most 29 more years, okay, if you live in any of those countries. And again, this is an average. This is not a fact. Okay, it's just an average. It is what is expected. And we could move on and do the same with the other set of numbers. Okay, so we would do the same for unemployment rate, annual inflation, administrative division, and then temperature. And of course, we will talk about each one of those and what it means in more depth as we move on. So, if you have any questions, you can write your comment, okay? And I will be glad to answer your questions. Thank you.